What's up, people? It is Dave, it is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another video on the old YouTube channel.
Yep.
Today, it feels very important, Duncan, that we should be chatting about the most anticipated metal releases of 2023. Duncan, what's on the cards? What's coming out? What we're looking forward to?
Yep. That sounds like a video worth recording.
It does indeed. 2023, do we think 2023 is going to be quite as epic as 22? Because that year was fucking batshit crazy.
It's an interesting one. I think that if you're a band that releases albums on a cycle of every 2 years, then there are a lot of bands that are going to be releasing albums this year that should be shit hot.
Yes.
And that is already
true.
Boring out with some of the list that I have in front of me. On top of that as well, I think there's anticipated albums to be released this year from bands who haven't done anything in a few years, which could be interesting. But on top of that as well, what I'm kind of hoping for is, like we've been talking about, it seems like the level of, particularly last year, the level of songwriting and specifically production just seems to be getting better year on year. That I'm just kind of hoping that trend at a minimum continues. We'll find that even when we write these lists and go through them, the ones that tend to dominate our lists are the ones that we have never heard of from bands we know nothing about. So
True.
This will whet the appetite for sure, Dave, but do not be surprised if some of the albums that we mentioned here, with positive glowing terms of anticipation, do not make it into our end of year lists.
If I look at my end of year list for 22, I think in my top 10, there's maybe 3 albums that I knew about.
Yeah.
And the rest were just like, this is fucking awesome.
Of my top 3, 2 were from bands I'd never heard of before. So. So.
True. Let's get into this, Duncan. I'm going to start off with the stuff that's confirmed, that I know about, that's got a date, all that sort of stuff, and then we'll get into other things where the details are still a little bit fuzzy. I'll kick us off. I need to start off with this one. It's an obvious choice to start with. February 10th, Duncan, sees the release of the new album from my boys in Distant. That's right. Heritage.
Weirdly not on my list.
Oh, surprise. Heritage is out February 10th from Distant. Will be coming out on Century Media Records. When it comes to downright punishingly heavy deathcore, but with a little bit of an undertone of pure darkness, then Distant are the boys you want to be listening to. We've reviewed some of the releases in the past, done some reactions and stuff. I met them in Glasgow 3 or 4 months ago when they were over touring with Decapitated. Fucking such an awesome bunch of guys, just absolutely down to earth, and one of the nicest bands I've ever met, and unbelievably good live. Like, when I was listening to it on CD, I was like, how are they going to pull this off live? And then I heard it live and I was like, that's how they're going to pull this off live.
That's how they're going to do it.
It sounds fucking brutally heavy. Ridiculous. Like, unbelievable. Like, vocally, his voice on like CD when you also is like, that must be fucked with in the studio or something, because it's too heavy. Like, there's no way someone's pulling that off. Oh, he pulled that off. 100% pulls that off. And from the singles they've released, I'm excited to hear the rest of Heritage, which drops on February 10th. So keep my eye out for that one. What about you? You want to go next?
Yeah, I will do. A band who released an album one of the first albums we actually reviewed for Metal Epidemic, returning on the 20th of January, the brand new Katatonia album, Sky Void of Stars. There are singles out. I've not listened to any of them. I'm saving myself for the album. Honestly, if it's half as good as that last album, we're going to be in for a treat. That last album fucking floored me. Like, really, genuinely, vocally. I think the vocalist took a bit more of a prominent hand, shall we say, in the writing of City Burials, but it's an album that I still go back to because it's just so fucking good. So
I've heard the album.
Oh, you've heard the album?
Yes, I've heard the album. We got it in for review. We got a stream in for review.
I'm not doing streams.
And one of the other guys was very, very excited about the prospect of reviewing.
Why are you sounding forlorn about this? Are you about to shit in my face? You better tell me it's awful.
No.
You're like, well, there's a story behind this one.
No. So the album is it's okay, like it's a really, really strong album. It's a really strong album. It sounds more like Katatonia, if that makes sense. The last album felt more like a Jonas kind of solo-ish, but with the Katatonia streak through it. This feels more like Katatonia overall, more like a band, all feeding into the album.
Instantly lost. No, I'm only joking. I'm looking for it.
It's very good. Our review will be going up. It'll probably up by the time this video drops. It is a strong release. Another strong release from Katatonia.
Right, well, you've ruined that one. So, I tried to pick the January titles first. Right?
January.
So it'll be out by the time we're chatting here. But AHAB have a new album out. Remember, Dave?
Yeah.
The Coral Tombs.
Yeah.
13th of January, so probably out by the time this video drops. We both found AHAB together in our love of Punishing Doom circa 2014. And I'm curious to hear if they are as heavy as I remember them being. So, Coral Tombs, AHAB, maybe off the beaten track for some people, but if you like punishing doom metal, then these German behemoths are the lads for you.
Yeah, it's very good.
This one? You had this one as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh, go get yourself in the bin. You're not fun to do a list like this.
I'm sorry, it's January. It was another stream we got in. So Mr. Paul Kearney has requested to review that. So I've only listened to it once, but it's heavy. Like it's fucking heavy.
That's all I need to know. Is it heavy?
Very, very funeral doom. Like very funeral doom. Like it's like fucking depressing as fuck. But it's another strong one. It's another really good album.
Interesting. Go. Right, come on, Daddy-O. Then let's give us one.
I'm in February. I'm going to In Flames and Forgone. I'm really enjoying the singles from In Flames. And they are a band.
A Trojan horse, Dave.
They're a band I used to play relentlessly. Then they went through a bit of a phase that I couldn't give a fuck about. But I must admit that the tracks that they've put out, the first few tracks are very reminiscent of old In Flames. The last single, was it Forgone Part 2, I think it was called. It's maybe a little bit more similar to the newer sound, a bit more stripped back. But I thought the first three singles, killer riffs, great vocal melodies. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest. It drops February 10th on Nuclear Blast. So yeah, interested to hear the rest of that one.
Cool. Right. Let's try and aim things a bit further. March.
Oh, March.
Haken.
Oh, the old Haken story.
Haken. Rhymes with bacon. They have an album coming out called Fauna. We dug that previous album quite a bit. And I got the feeling, I remember in a review of Virus, we were saying that it kind of felt like they were finding a really interesting groove, and it'd be interesting to see with time how that would play out. I am curious, because that's a band that has an insane amount of promise, and I don't think they'd hit their stride yet. So I'm super curious, because they do a kind of techie proggy sort of thing, but are not adverse to a little bit of melody, and when they do that melody stuff, Dave, it sings. So I'm curious to see more than anything else where he can land with this new album.
Could be cool. I've got a few February ones that are looking pretty sexy. We know about obviously Sanguisugabogg,
Oh, dude, honestly.
Homicidal
Oh.
Ecstasy. Woo! It's dropping February 3rd on
It
Century
could take
Media.
the cake this year, honestly. It really,
Yeah.
really, really could.
Those singles have been.
Yeah.
We reviewed the last album. We reacted to one of the new singles. It sounded killer. And obviously this one produced by the drummer and mixed by Kurt Ballou. I mean, what's not to love about that?
What are you doing,
Get it in me.
Sanguisugabogg?
February 3rd. Looking forward to hearing that one. Also, another February one. Do you remember a band called See You Next Tuesday?
Yes, I do remember seeing you
yes.
next Tuesday.
So they went on hiatus, I think, like 2008, 2009 or something like that. I think they played like a one-off show, like through like the last 10 years, and then the vocalist and I think it was the guitarist are now like back kind of writing ideas. So they've got a new album coming out on February 17th. It's called Distractions, on the band's new label, Good Fight Music. They were one of the kind of like the early Ferret bands from way back in the like early 2000s, and it's a kind of like modern kind of technical grindcore. I was obviously into Blood Has Been Shed around that time, and they shared kind of similarities with them, hence the interest in this. But they've released one single and it's utterly disgusting, so I can't wait to get the rest of that. So that's See You Next Tuesday and Distractions, February 17th. Hypnose, I've got one coming out in February. Yep. So the French progressive avant-garde metal outfit, Hypnose. Their new album, Sheol, out on February 24th on Pelagic Records.
That's a good label for them.
Yep. I hadn't heard any of the tracks, but there's actually two. I don't know if they released the two singles at the same time, but there's two tracks there. The one is very melodic, very tranquil, and I heard that first and I was like, all right, this is cool. And then I clicked on the second one and oh yeah, bastard. The second one is all about the riffs. It's big, fucking massive progressive riffs. So looking forward to hearing that, because it sounds like it's going to be a right kind of contrasting album. Lots of kind of atmosphere and very cinematic sounding. So that should be cool. Looking forward to hearing that. What was it? There was another February one. Suicide Silence. Not one I thought I'd be excited for, but I listened to a few of the singles they've released. It's from the new album Remember You Must Die, out February 24th, on Century Media, I think. Was it March? No, that was March. Is that a March one? There might be a March one. But the track I heard was a track called Capable of Violence, which was heavy as fuck. And it kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And I had lost interest in them quite a bit. So interested to hear how the rest of that one sounds. Remember You Must Die. I think it might have been March, actually. I've written down February, but I think it might have been March. Anyway, any other March ones? Anything else?
Eyes have got.
Oh yes,
early March. We've got that in. So
is that's a February one? I think.
I thought it was late March. Am I wrong about that?
I think that's February.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Fuck. Well, that's a February one then. Congratulations for being wrong. We loved that previous album. It was fucking heavy as shit. Kind of also one of the first bands that kind of started turning our attention to the Danish metal scene. They've had a few personal changes, isn't that right? There's a vocalist left.
No, the vocalist is the same, but the vocalist now joined LLNN as well.
That's what it is, yeah, which that's just going to be fucking savage. Yeah. I'm curious, because we are aware of people in or around that circle who are very excited for that release. I have not listened to it yet, even though it has come in. Have you listened to it yet?
Maybe.
Don't say anything else. Keep it to
Done
your
recorded by
self.
Jakob Bredal.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Which that's usually he was excited, so I'm excited. I'm excited. So that's probably worth note, because we will be covering it. So
yes, absolutely will. other one I've got in March is Rotten Sound, Finnish grindcore band.
All right.
First album in 7 years, which is called Apocalypse, due out on March 31st on Season the Mist. The new single they released is called Sharing, and by God, shit, man, it is heavy. It's mixed by a guy called Jesse Gander and then mastered by Brad Boatwright.
Oh, we love you, Brad.
We do,
love
we
you.
do. So yeah, it's just if the rest of the album is sounds anything like that single, it's just pure violence, absolute violence. So yeah, that's Apocalypse on March 31st by Rotten Sound.
Can't help but notice we've not mentioned Metallica yet.
I wasn't even going to bother, Duncan, to be honest. Not anticipated at all.
We're not covering that, no?
I am zero interest.
Not want to cover it, no?
No.
A wee bit? A wee bit, no?
No. Nope.
I'm very close-minded of you. We did Megadeth. I mean, we might as well do Metallica.
Yeah, but the Megadeth single piqued my interest.
It did. It was awesome.
Metallica single
Was not very good.
Fuck no. Nope. Did I have anything else with the release dates? You got any other ones with release dates?
I don't know about release date for this, but obviously Pupil Slicer have announced Blossom.
Yes.
Their upcoming album. That was it their debut?
Mirrors was their debut, yeah.
Mirrors is absolutely fucking savage. And they have all the buzz behind them at the moment, and I think she pretty much went straight into writing mode as soon as Mirrors came out. Blossom is highly anticipated. I think I'm expecting big things. I'm expecting really big things.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's produced by Lewis Johns, who we spoke about a lot, obviously.
Here we go.
And apparently it's a concept album about the death and rebirth and acceptance of finality. But apparently I read a little kind of press thing on it, said it was an amalgamation of films like, this is where Duncan gets an erection, Event Horizon, and a film called Tetsuo, the Iron Man.
Tetsuo, the Iron Man, yeah. That's a body horror movie from the 1980s.
Oh, was it? Right, okay. Also, amalgamation of video games like The Outer Wilds and Final Fantasy Endwalker.
All right, so it's like, this could be fucking savage.
Yeah.
Tetsuo, the Iron Man is about a man who slowly his body starts changing into mechanical parts. Painfully. Very fucking painfully. Okay. So it's all in black and white and it's gnarly as shit.
Right. Interesting. Well, so the basis basically says if someone listened to Mirrors, you'd probably think, man, Kate isn't in a great place. On this one, it's more like, well, you might not still be totally happy, but you sound better. It definitely feels more positive as opposed to just grinding. Kate said, I wanted it to be more dialed up to 11, weirder riffs, harder breakdowns, much more post songs and more shoegaze songs. It's all over the place, but it's also cohesive. It's got a 5-minute indie rock song, a 6-minute shoegaze song, and an 8-minute post black metal song.
Perfect. Give me it now.
Yeah.
If anyone can do it, it's them.
Good. Yep.
Like I don't think people understand. Like, they had the most amazing time after Mirrors came out. They were right on Knotfest and all the rest. So I can't wait. Can't fucking. Oh, give me it now.
Another one who they've released one single, but the details of the album haven't been released yet, but we know what it's going to be called. The new Orbit Culture album.
Ooh, we like Orbit Culture.
Yeah. Their new album's called Descent. We released later this year. One single out called Vulture of North. We both dug the last album.
Yeah, really fucking good.
So
really good.
You know, if things work out and they take this to the next level, like, which I'm sure they are capable of, this could be like an absolute banger, because the single is really good. So interested to hear the rest of that one.
Well, you've got on the back of that, have released a single. We're waiting to hear where that goes. Loathe.
Oh yes.
So yeah, Loathe released a track middle of last year, was it? Which was like the tits. You know, it was kind of setting up it was all the Deftones that you've ever wanted, with detuned to fuck heavy as shit guitars. So they are due an album out this year. Loathe scored really high with me in 2021. So I'm expecting, or 2020, never remember now. So I'm expecting huge things from this because they really are that fucking good. So.
Yep, for sure. The only other one that I've got that we've actually heard something off, although I don't know what the name of the album's going to be, 200 Stab Wounds. They've obviously signed to Metal Blade, and they've already teased some new music in the form of a track called Masters of Morbidity, and it is tight, unbelievably tight. So no details on the album title or release date, but I suspect there's going to be an announcement fairly soon if they're teasing new stuff. So plus they're looking to, they're going to be touring a lot this year, because Slave to the Scalpel came out a couple of years ago, so.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
This will be definitely the year for them. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. What else we got? So there was one that came up on one of our conversations on the podcast with Lisa.
Yes.
She mentioned a certain band and a new album that was due this year from the UK prog band Tesseract.
Yes.
It's looking like a mid-year release. There's not an album title at this point, but there was an interview with James Monteith, the guitarist, who also works with Lisa at Hold Tight, and he'd said that this album is going to be more organic than previous albums. He said previous albums have been done in a more kind of like bedroomy, very kind of sort of digital style. Whereas this one's been done in like a traditional rock record in a studio, basically. So he said he feels it's going to be like a kind of step in a fresh direction for Tesseract, but still being kind of true to the sound that they try and make. I think there's a track online that's live. They played at that Arc Tangent. It's called Natural Disaster. It's a live video, but you can tell from the video it sounds pretty heavy, a good kind of bouncy kind of groove to it. So that could be interesting. I do enjoy the odd Tesseract album.
Well, let's keep on things that we know that we do enjoy, that we know is definitely coming. Acacia Strain.
Yeah.
So we know that is definitely coming this year, and they're a band who, even though I don't necessarily think they've topped Wormwood for me, which to me is still like, I just fucking adore that album.
Yeah.
They're a band who will always have like instant attention from me whenever they release anything. They have my good graces anytime they want to do anything. So I'm very excited to hear what they guys come out with, because it's been a wee while.
Yeah. That Slow Decay album was fucking awesome. Like if it's going in a similar vein to that, then I'm really excited to hear it. That was really good.
I do have some more bands that are rumoured, i.e. are doing stuff that's expected this year. I don't know if you want me to drop a couple of names, Dave. Maybe see if I can.
Sure, yeah, drop some names.
So we know this one because I tagged you in it. Job for a Cowboy.
Yes, that album is done.
So hopefully this year, you would hope.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's a year of death metal after all, so they may as well get out. So you remember that time we saw Job for a Cowboy live? So they have an album. Baroness are rumoured to have an album coming out this year. Apparently,
just go back to that Job for a Cowboy thing. They've got because this is like the first album in 8 years. They've brought in Naveen from Entheos on drums, because I think they don't have the drummer in the band anymore.
Of course they have. Why not?
Yeah. So that could be interesting, because his playing is
fucking ridiculous.
Awesome, man. So yeah, and it's the same producer that's kind of been producing the material since like 2009. Guy called Jason Sukoff. Who's working on that one. So yeah, that apparently it's done. They've wrapped the sessions on that. I don't know if it's maybe just like in the kind of mixing and mastering or whatever stage, but
you would like to think this year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, Baroness apparently have an album written as well.
Yeah.
So I would expect that this year. It has been a couple of years since their previous one, so that would kind of make sense. Church of Misery have obviously been teasing. Because Tatsuo can't take 5 minutes to enjoy, I don't know, not playing bass. But yeah, they're talking tours and all the rest.
There's something about the vocalist though, wasn't there? He's left and they brought in the Sonic Flower vocalist. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Sonic Flower vocalist is coming over, which makes me wonder how the fuck that's like. Maybe that Sonic Flower vocalist can just do that shit, or maybe it just makes it sound different. I don't know. I'm super curious. They're another band that have infinite good grace from me to do whatever the fuck they want. So they're obviously they're rumoured as well. Brand of Sacrifice, Dave. Tickle your tap.
Yeah, I loved the last album. So looking forward to that. He's the vocalist of that band is just super busy, man. He's always doing like collaborations and recording bits and pieces. But I'd heard a rumor that there was definitely stuff on the cards.
So they've signed to a different label now. So I think the assumption is with them signing to their new label, the expectation is that they'll want to get something out this year, rather than sit on a release on a different label with a band not doing anything. So that would be expected. And there's a distant rumor, not a bit distant. There's a distant rumor that potentially before the end of the year, after they finish the tour that we're going to be in at March, that Cannibal Corpse might have another album out before the year is done.
That would
I'll
be
believe it when I
interesting.
see it. I think that seems like too quick, but according to the internet, according to the pages I went on, Dave, there's a rumour that Cannibal Corpse have been teasing.
I don't know. That's only been was that 2020? Their last one, wasn't it?
2021.
Was that last year? Oh yeah, was that last year?
Yeah, so like 2 years ago.
No way. This is the second year of that. So this is the moment finally getting over here. So I didn't see that happen.
How many years in between standard Cannibal Corpse's albums?
Is it not like 4 years or something like that usually?
All right, well, it's not happening.
That's definitely not as quick as 2.
It's the rumour, I'm telling you. The internet is a buzz with the fluttering sounds of the Cannibal Corpse album.
They've now got the big man on guitar, so you never know if they're doing the old Rutan's a Man. But the last album was Violence Unimagined. The one before that was Red Before Black, was 2017, so that was 4 years.
Yeah, it's 4
years.
One
before that, Skeletal Domain, 2014, that was 3 years.
3 years. Oh, we're getting closer.
Saying that, Torture came out in 2012, and then A Skeletal Domain in 2014, so there have been albums with 2 years between them. It's possible.
Word on the street, and by street I mean the one internet page that I stumbled across, seemed to reckon that there could be a Cannibal Corpse album before the year is done.
Okay, we'll see. Also, sticking within that heavy death metal genre, we spoke to them last year, Cattle Decapitation, obviously. The album, we spoke to Josh when they were over in Glasgow. The recording was done. They were just at the kind of like, they were, what do you call it? They were listening to, they were proving mixes, that's what they were doing.
That's right, yeah. Go away and, mix master and then bish bash bosh.
Yeah, I think he said they were thinking about May time. That was coming out on Metal Blade. So there was one song they've played live, which is again on YouTube, you can check it out. But it sounds like Cattle Decapitation. So interested to hear that. Always a fan of Cattle Decap. The Contortionist is another one that I'm interested about. It's been about 5 years since Clairvoyant came out.
Yep.
And then they posted on social media at the end of last year to say like their kind of touring cycle was done, and they're hoping to kind of be teasing some new music this year. So I'm hoping that means we're going to get an album finally from the Contortionist. That would be fucking awesome, because it's been too long since we've heard anything new from them. The other one that I saw the other day on social media is Raging Speedhorn.
Oh God!
So they're back in the studio just as of the last couple of weeks. Album number 7, which follows up their 2020 release, Hard to Kill. I really liked Hard to Kill, actually.
It was good, yeah. I enjoyed it as well.
Strong release.
I thought it felt like a modernisation of their sound in the best possible way.
Yeah.
They're another band that were weirdly ahead of the curve with their sound. It kind of found like things have sped up. Talking about waiting on things arriving, Dave, and we got this news today. Fucking day. Not only did we get news today, we've also been told that we have less than a week to wait for the single Great Pleasures.
Great Pleasures, yes.
Yeah, so a new single imminently going to drop this month, which would make you think album this year.
Gotta be, surely.
Very curious about that one. Kavos and crew back doing something.
Yeah, they posted. I noticed on their Instagram they had some photos of a recording session in Finland that they were doing. So and it was, they said it was an album. So the new song, apparently "Society of Spectres," is the new track, which we've seen there is going to be released in the next few days, but it'll be out by the time this video comes out.
Yep.
So yeah, that should be interesting. Quite interested to hear how that's going to sound.
Yeah.
In 2022.
I like Motherboard. Motherboard was cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as like the Beast Milk stuff. Beast Milk stuff is still like my fave, but
Yeah.
I'd be interested. He's had whatever that guy does, whatever Kavos does is interesting. It's not always great, but it's always interesting. So
Yeah, for sure.
even his like work with Carpenter Brute a few years ago, like it completely elevated that stuff. So you can never tell. So I'm looking forward to that.
A couple more I've got. Remember Daath or
Yes,
Daath,
I do remember
I can't
Daath.
remember how you pronounce it, but they put a absolutely stunning album back in 2007 even, called the Hinderers. Loved that album. They announced recently that they'll be back with a new album and a new drummer this year. The drummer was recently announced as Krim from Septic Flesh. Which is pretty fucking awesome. I loved Kevin Talley, played with him before. I thought he's a fantastic drummer, but Krim's drumming is also fucking awesome. So they've got something
what's
new coming
Talley
out.
doing then?
I don't know. He was doing a lot of session work, and through COVID he was like fucking appearing on lots of different releases. So I think he does a lot of session stuff just from home. He's got his own recording studio and equipment and stuff. I think he does a lot of just bands require him for a song or an album or whatever. But that is on the cards. The other one was Cryptopsy.
Oh, nice, man.
They announced, that was June 22. They announced they were back in the studio. So this was the follow-up to their 2018 EP. They didn't say whether it was an album or an EP, so I'm not entirely sure. But it's, again, been recorded by the guitarist Christian Donaldson, he's been doing loads of production work lately. So that could be interesting if you're into your tech death. Cryptopsy are always fucking awesome. Anything else that I had? Unearth was the other one.
Oh, nice, man.
They also announced they were finishing up their new album with Will Putney, and that's been 4 years since Extinctions, which was a fucking beast of an album. So excited to hear Unearth on their new release. No details of the album title or anything like that just yet. I think that's pretty much the only other one. And this, we don't have any concrete printed
Cannibal Corpse,
printed evidence of this, but we did speak to a particular band last year that we interviewed, and there was a mention.
I think it's safe to say that it's coming out this year. Yeah. I don't think it's secret either.
Right.
But yeah, I think when we interviewed Blood Command had basically said that the album Praise Armageddonism, which came out in 2022, had all been written in 2019, with kind of changing of vocalists late 2019 into early 2020. And the main man behind all that had already started writing and all but told us that the songs were all done for their next album. So if it would chart, I believe that when we were asking them about future tours and all the rest, I think what they said was they were going to be touring until about the middle of the year.
Right.
Assuming they take a small break off, I would expect, if anything, late 2023. I think would probably be a safe bet. They'll not want to waste too much time. No. I think they'll want to kind of hit the ground running, especially off the back of the positive feedback and reviews of Praise Armageddonism. So I think that's probably a safe one. I'll tell you what isn't a safe one though, Dave.
What's that?
Even though it was announced to be released back in 2021, but it's still not seen the light of day, is Deadsy, which apparently that album was recorded. I've seen footage of them 2 years ago in the studio with it finished. Then they re-released Phantasmagoria, and we all listened to it and we're like, this is just, it's going to happen. And nothing has happened. There's been zero words about it and nothing has been mentioned since. So I am going to call it the year of Deadsy. 2023.
Another one that's been teased for years, but apparently it's coming this year, but there's not been any definite proof. Scar Symmetry.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going. That's
really?
not where I thought you were going. No.
So they put out an album in 2014 called The Singularity Phase 1. And then they basically teased for the last, I don't know how many years, that Phase 2 was going to be coming and blah, blah, blah. And then I think there's loads of stuff going on in the background with, I don't know if it's with members or labels or whatever. But they have said, I've seen a few comments by the band on social media saying it's coming soon. It'll be hopefully be coming soon. And their Wikipedia page does say TBA 2023, sorry.
Yep.
So I'm hoping Scar Symmetry, that would be pretty sweet because we've not had anything from them for a long time.
What I thought you were going to say is the Clown has been teasing the Lost Slipknot album, which apparently only has 4 of the members on it. So apparently they released an album which Roadrunner would not put out.
Right.
Which was supposed to be a Christmas surprise, which I think came out, I think they recorded it in and around the same sessions as All Hope Is Gone.
Right.
And the Clown has basically been saying that I think they have the rights to it. And I think with them being off Roadrunner now, they're talking of releasing it.
I see.
But is it a Slipknot album if only 3 or 4 members on it are actually on it?
I don't... I mean, it depends which members.
I think it was Jim Root,
right,
Corey,
right,
the Clown, and maybe the drummer. Which made me think, isn't that basically half a stone sour?
Yeah.
The Clown and a drummer.
Yes, it is, yeah. Yes.
We'll chalk that up into, it was done up at the same time as All Hope Is Gone, which is a mediocre album, and that was all of them trying on that one. So I don't know how much of a fuck I can give when most of them aren't on it, and the label, which could have made money off it, like that, we're not releasing that. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. If Roadrunner's not going to release that, and they just released that fucking album they did last year, then...
What I want to know is, Duncan, did they do any pre-production on it?
Well, Jim Root will tell it before he comes out.
He's banned.
They'll get their excuse. They'll get their excuse. Well, that's the thing about it. To me, it so cynically sounds like a cash grab because they're not on Roadrunner now. Totally, that was the first thing we should do. Rarities. Release the rarities. Not like new material, material that was written years ago by not all the band. Well done, Slipknot. Well done.
Fuckers. That's all I've got for now. But as we've said, there'll be all these other little gems that come in that we're not expecting this year. Those are the ones you've got to watch out for. But let us know if there's anything that you're looking forward to that we've not mentioned. Stick some comments in below. Happy to hear your thoughts on...
Do we want to make a bold prediction? Is 2023 going to be the year of Paledusk?
Oh, now Duncan. That is an interesting one. I mean...
No album announced that we know of. Plenty of new singles that weren't on an album.
Yeah.
They could pull them into an album, and they've got, 5 songs now? That would form an album.
True. It seems like they've paved the way for an album with all these singles.
At this point, yeah. Considering they already have 1 album and 3 EPs or something already under their belts, and they have all the momentum now. Is pushing them. I just kind of feel, Dave. I kind of feel that maybe, just maybe, we're getting some Paledusk.
You might Phil Anselmo there. You went full Phil.
Drag the water some more. I never vow. No, I think Paledusk
possibly
could have an album at this year. I did notice that Kerrang were bands to watch. I was like, fuck you, Kerrang. Where were you when they released Black Ice? Nowhere. So yeah, that could be one to watch. I could be. I'm just calling it right now. Could be my number 1 of the year. No, what's your favourite?
Number 1 of the year, you say?
Yeah, with that, you know what I'm thinking? I think there's plenty of evidence here to show that a lot of bands that were like standouts on those first releases, particularly like a 200 Stab Wounds or a Sanguisugabogg, where they had those debuts that just like really fucking floored us, are coming back with second albums with intent to dominate. So I think a lot of bands that we heard 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that were like, right, these are ones to watch. I think this is where we find out if it was lightning in a bottle, or if this is how you sell people coming back to the show. Was it lightning in a bottle, Dave, or did we get it right all along?
I think you find we did, Duncan.
That's right.
Yes, so that is our picks for anticipated releases in 2023. As I said, stick some comments in below. Let us know what you're looking forward to in 2023.
Do you want us to cover the Metallica album? Yay or nay? And will it have any bearing on us covering the Metallica album? Nay.
Yeah, unlikely. I don't know. I'm just not that excited.
We're not doing that, Dave. Like, life is too short.
I mean, I'll put the people first, obviously, if it comes down to it. But no, we're not putting the people first.
I'll tell you what, you can do it yourself. You're a man that looks like you would do it yourself. I'm a man that has limited time on this planet, and I ain't spending it listening to something that I'm not interested in. So there you go,
You're going
Dave.
somewhere that I don't know about, like.
Limited time on this earth, Dave. My biological clock is fucking ticking, right? It's Fran tick, 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 tick.
Oh.
There you go.
Well done.
You're
yes, that's our list. Thank you for checking it out. Comments below. Let us know your anticipated releases for 2023 in the comments below. And we'll speak to you very, very soon. Until then, take care.
Bye, everyone.